So for this video, we're going to be looking at graphing an exponential function. So to graph an exponential function, we're going to have two basic steps. First is we're going to choose several values of x, make sure we have a positive, negative, and 0 in there, and generate ordered pairs. And so to find that y value, to complete the ordered pair, you're going to plug in your value of x into your equation. And for the values of x, I normally like to choose -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. So I have some negative, I have some positive, and I have 0 in there. And then your second step is to plot the points and connect them with a smooth curve. And so remember the shape for exponential functions, they look like this, where usually they're following along the x-axis or whatever your asymptote is, and then increases or decreases very quickly. So let's go ahead and work through some examples. So my first function here is y equals 2 to the x. My first step is to go ahead and figure out some of those x values to get my ordered pair. Again, I normally just like to choose these 5. And then I'm going to plug them into my function here to find out what my y value is. And so for this first one, x is equal to -2, so I'm going to plug in -2 for x. And so there's a couple ways you can do it. You can use your exponent rules that we learned about earlier and know that that's really 1/2 squared to get 1/4 here. But if you don't want to use fractions, you can also just put this into your calculator and get this in decimal format. And so to do that, you can go over to desmos.com/calculator, and then if you click on this keyboard, you'll get some options here. So I wanted 2 to the -2nd power, so I want to click on 2, and then to get that exponent, you're going to click on this A to the B button, and then you'll see it kind of goes up, and I'm going to click -2, and so I get that that is 0.25. Okay, now 2 to the -1st power, which if I change that to be a positive, that's really 1/2 to the 1st power, so it's 1/2, which is 0.5. 2 to the 0 power, well, anything to the 0 power is just 1. 2 to the 1st, and then 2 squared is 4. So I have all of my points, so now I want to go ahead and graph them. So my first point is -2, 0.25. So when reading the table, that's just saying this point there. So -2 and then 0.25, -1 and 0.5, 0, 1, 1, 2, and then 2, 4. And then you could keep going. So if I put 3 here, 2 to the 3rd is equal to 8, and so I could put that in as well. And so I see that this is getting really, really close to the x-axis, but it's never going to cross because I can never get a negative number out of this. So I'm going to just follow this x-axis when I'm graphing it, and then go up. And then ask for the domain and range. Domain, it's all real numbers. And then for my range, I see it's everything greater than my x-axis, it never crosses, so it's going to be y is greater than 0. Okay, let's try the next one. So I want to put these in. So now I have -1/4, 2 to the -2nd power. So going back over to Desmos, I can put the negative, and I want 1/4, so I'm just going to click 1, and I'm going to click my slash button, and 4. And then I can even put parentheses around here, just so it looks just like it does in the problem. And so I get that this is going to be -0.06. Okay, and then next one, I want to plug in -1 in for x now. So now I can change that to be -1, and I get negative 0.125. Now I can put in 0, and I get negative 0.25. Plug in 1, and I get negative 0.5. And then I plug in 2. And I get -1. So now when I'm graphing that, -2 is really close to the y or the x-axis. -1. I'm going to go ahead and put in a few more points. I'm going to put in 3, 4, and 5, just so I can get a better look at what this is doing. So what's that one? 4 is at -4. And 5 is at -8. And so I see it's getting really close to the x-axis, but never quite touching. And so my graph looks something like this. So domain is going to be all real numbers. And range is going to be y is less than 0. Okay, go ahead and pause the video. I want you to try and complete number 4 on your own, or number 3 on your own. So this is the answer you should have gotten for number 3. Here, 64 was off of the graph, so I didn't include that, so I just started at -116 and went from there. Okay, now let's go through this last one. So I have -3 1/2, and I want to raise that to the -2nd power. And so coming back over to Desmos, I have 1/2 here, and then I have -3. And so for that first one, I get -12. Next, I'm plugging in -1. And I get -6. I get -3. So you notice what I'm really doing is I'm multiplying by 1/2 every time. So 12 divided by 2, I get -6. Divided by 2, I get -3. -3 divided by 2, I get -1.5. And then I get -0.75. So graphing that, -2, -12. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 12. Then -1, -6, 0, -3. And so my graph looks like this. So my domain is going to be all real numbers. And here I have everything less than 0.